Gentlemen by Choice, and for the first half of the show, we're really talking about the state of our nation. Not even the state of our nation, but actually the state of our world. Like, it's actually quite crazy, like what's been happening in our country and our world. And 2016 really kicked off with a bang, I have to say, because I mean, like I feel like we've had a year already after the last 3 weeks, and it's really been crazy, I have to say. So I'm really excited to welcome our guest today. Our guest is a leader, and he is an influencer, and he is one of the major influencers in Africa. He's going to be a major influencer, if not a major influencer at the moment. Our guest today is Ackson Mwami, a leader and a transformation coach, making waves and created a new and fresh ideology of human life and achievement. He is the president of Eagle Leadership Africa. He's a BCom graduate in marketing management, and he wrote his first book at the age of 21, which was called The Drugs for Success Addicts. I know he also wrote a book called I Interviewed God, and I heard a lot about this, and a good friend of mine, Swisisa Mulimi, continuously quotes this man when he makes his speeches and all of that. But let's hear from him and hear a bit about his story. Ackson, how you doing, man?
I'm awesome, and how are you?
I'm great.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Wow.
You know, I've heard so much about Ackson, and I've seen so much of Ackson on social media, so it's actually quite an honor to have you in studio with us today, man.
Yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored to actually meet you, man. You look good.
No, thanks, man. You too, man.
You look like a gentleman.
Yeah, but you too. Like, I love your time, man. Like, I have to say.
I must leave it.
Once, ne?
Once.
But yeah, Ackson, tell us a bit about yourself. Where you from? Where were you born? How was your upbringing? So we can just get to know you.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me talk about where I was born. I was born in a village called Tulisha in Zambia.
Yeah.
I've lived in Zambia for up until I was 17.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in those areas where my parents were peasant farmers.
Really?
You know, you eat and you leave the seed for next season.
Shucks,
You know, but that was good. I mean, I'm telling you, it was so normal because that's all I knew.
Yeah, and you didn't feel like
I didn't feel like it's just now that when I look back and I go like, oh, this is a story to tell. But yeah, I was born from that background and then moved into Lusaka, the capital, and you know, it's just recently. In 2008 when I moved into South Africa, that beautiful South Africa.
2008 you said?
2008.
Okay, yeah.
2008.
And how old were you when you moved to South Africa?
You know, when I moved to South Africa I was 17.
Shucks, so a young man just moving into South Africa.
I'm a young man.
Yeah, why did you come to South Africa though? Just out of interest. I know South Africa is apparently the land of dreams and opportunity in Africa and all of that. But I want to hear your point of view. What made you decide to come to South Africa?
2002.
Yeah.
I'm in the farm with my father, and you know, when we were farming in the village, they give us 3 lines. You know, you have to take your own lines and finish before you go home.
Yeah.
And I'm farming, and they are way ahead of me.
Yeah.
And my father turns back and he comes to me and he says, "Young man, let me tell you something. You really need to work hard academically, or else you eat your own feces."
What?
I was in 2002, and oh man. Now, have you ever heard the truth that pained you so much, but you knew it was the truth?
Yes, yeah.
I didn't like
And you can't even fight the truth.
You can't even fight the truth.
Yeah.
So I had my elder brother who was in the town, in town, you know, in the city. So when he came to visit, and he left, I wanted to live with him. I remember crying, I wanted to live with him.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did it. My father, out of the 11 children, he only had 2 boys. So if I had to leave, we are leaving, you know, an African man without a man to take over. So, you know, I remember in 2002, 2003, I decided to run away from home when he was he went to a political meeting. You know, went into the city and I joined my big brother there. That is where I encountered life. Those few years I got exposed, you know, to the world.
Yeah.
But my biggest dream started in the farm though. But then, you know, when in the city, then my brother in 2007 decided to move to South Africa.
Yeah.
And I had 2 options. In 2007, I I remember very well.
Yeah.
I was doing my grade 9, and it's either I go back to the village where my father said to me, if you don't work hard, you eat your own feces.
Yeah.
Or I have to look for another way.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my whole story started, because that was in the year when I slept in an unfinished building. That's a year when I used the camera to get pictures, to get food.
Sure.
That's a year when I was kicked out of a few houses, and I used to live out on my friends' houses. And, you know, with those options, my brother organized for me to join him in South Africa, and yeah.
Here you are today.
By God's design, here I am today.
Yes, Ira. This sounds like such an interesting story, because I mean, when you arrived to South Africa, that was the beginning of a new chapter, a new journey.
It was actually, when I came here, I was here to visit, preparing myself to go back to a boarding school in Zambia.
Yeah.
You would be very shocked the perceptions we have over each other in Africa as African countries.
Yeah.
One of it was Zambian education is better than South African education. I remember myself crying, going like, I really don't want to stay in South Africa because I want to get
the best education. Yeah. In your view, the best education.
But I think that is the view of the world. We have been influenced to believe that a quality education equals a quality life. And I used to fight for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Until now, my eyes are open, and well, I'm a label like you.
No, but that's proper, man. I mean, you came to South Africa, you said you came to visit and all that. But what made you stay then?
What made me say then, you know, my brother just said, look, you'd rather stay here. And even myself, when I looked at the state of the country, the exposure that comes with it,
the opportunities
that comes with it, you know, I remember going into high school at Ridgeville, and because I needed to have a local language, but I mean, you know, doing a local language in grade 10 and writing matric, then I had to drop out, and then I went through the FET colleges, you know. But yeah, what made me stay here was really that I prepare myself for the bigger vision that I have for even Africa as a whole.
Shucks. So you had this dream. Like, let's backtrack a bit, because you told me that you had this dream while you were at the farm, and you said no, that this dream is something that I wanted to become.
I want to become.
Yeah, you want to become, and you wanted to become, and it started there. That's where your dream started, in the farm.
Yes.
And you said you just wanted to impact Africa, and that you have a dream for Africa. But what is that dream? You haven't told us yet.
I was about to ask.
2001, general elections in Zambia. They're voting. I remember my dad was he is still very active in politics, you know. But in the village, you know what they do when they want you to make sure you win votes for them. They used to give him seeds, you know, for farming, and he would come with seeds. And they also used to, I remember in 2001, they gave him a new bicycle. That's the bicycle I learned. Yes, because I mean that's a mode of transport in those days.
Yeah.
Believe you me, I was raised in a time when we heard the sound of a car, we used to run to see the cars. I mean, you know, so I learned to ride the bicycle that they gave him from the party called UPND. It was then founded by Mazoka. And when they were doing elections and it was time for results, you don't know, I was so young but very addicted, you know, to politics. And I remember I was voting for the opposition.
Yeah.
But I was, of course, not like in voting because I was still young. You know?
Yeah.
But
you were voting in your heart.
I was voting in my heart.
Yeah.
And it's like, how unfair can it be?
What?
That the man I see my father working so hard for, believing with his heart that he would change the state of living for my family. Now he's not going to be president. I literally shed a tear.
Yes.
And from that
you were
day,
that invested from a young age.
I said to myself, I am making sure I go to school every day, learn and become the president of Zambia. That's my dream.
The president of Zambia.
I'm going back there.
What?
President of Zambia.
That's what you deserve right now.
Thank you.
Shucks.
What? So that's the dream.
That's a dream.
That's a powerful dream. So tell me, now we know what. We understand why you want to do it, because you want to initiate change and create a better living standard for not just Zambians but Africans in
South
essence.
Africa, you know, I always say it's becoming clear every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a limited vision.
Mm-hmm.
This is a vision that I've had for the past 10 years, feeding my mind with it. It is shaping each and everything that is happening around me, believe you me. And not only for Zambia. I always tell people I'm going there for 5 years to make sure that 10,000 young people are mentored. By the time I'm done with my 5 years reign, these 10,000 people should be leaders ready to take on a country anytime.
That's powerful stuff. So tell me, a lot of people have dreams, right? In essence, I want to understand what you are doing now to enable yourself to achieve that dream. Let's talk about when you got to South Africa and the years after high school, and you've had this dream continually. What have you done to take those active steps towards that dream?
Yeah, your cultivations.
You know, went into the FET 2009, up until 2011. I was studying marketing, but you know, I got involved. I was actually SRC president of the Haratsiwande College in 2011.
Yeah.
And it's for that drive. People wanted to be, as I've seen SRC people take on a political mandate.
Yeah, yeah.
Mine was not a political mandate.
Yeah.
Being president is nothing to do with politics for me. It's everything to do with transformation and change. Back to those few that I'll be around in Zambia.
Yeah, in
What
those
about-
couple of years only.
In those couple of years,
Yeah.
what about me starting now to create change? What is the biggest problem in Africa? The biggest problem in Africa is an African person does not know he has a problem.
Yeah. That's power. You know, that is exactly it. We don't realize that we have the problem.
We don't realize that we
Yeah.
have a
Because you
problem.
can't change what you don't admit to.
Yeah.
I said this last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I sit and I'm thinking, wow, okay, if then that means I have a solution to a problem, but the only problem that I'm facing right now is the people I will present my solution to do not even know.
They
have
need
it.
it,
So what should I do? While I am still underage to become the president, what about me helping Africa realize the problem so that when my time comes, it will be easy for me to present the solution?
Shucks. That's powerful stuff. So tell us about some of the things that you're doing.
Some of the things I'm doing, I'm president of Eagle Leadership Africa. What we do there is simply transforming followers into leaders and leaders into change makers. So we're starting right on the grassroots. We go into schools. I think if you are with me on social media, you see we do a lot of schools.
Yeah.
I have a passion for schools. I believe, can I make this statement? I believe one of the greatest weapon that has been used against Africa is formal education.
Yeah.
And we have not even realized it.
I agree with you on that.
Very fact that, so I am going committedly with a team of Eagle leaders. We have committed to go into schools and say, get your formal education to know what you are signing.
Yeah.
But make sure you also get your self-education. So we do leadership development, mentorship, all the way up into where we go into organization. I have privileges where I work with organizations just to inspire and motivate people in employment to come against the system.
The system. I've been talking about this.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for you, man.
Awesome.
I've been waiting for you.
That's why I figured it's for today's topic.
Like, honestly, I've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
People, I talk about the system and people don't understand that there's this system.
There is a system.
And people are blind to the system. People are blind to the fact that they're caught in a trap where they go to school, then they go to university, then they go to the job, and then they die.
People are even caught up in a situation where they're ignorant that what is being used right now is the law of elimination in Africa. Do you know that if all the grade 12s for this year, for last year had passed, that would be a problem
It would be a
to
problem.
the system.
Yeah. It
So-
would disrupt the system.
So think about what they have done to make sure that they reduce
Yeah.
the number of matriculants who pass.
And they attack you in your mind.
They attack you in your mind.
Yeah. They literally break you down in your mind to make sure that you don't believe that you can pass or be that person you're supposed to be. I agree with you 100%.
Definitely. So that is what I'm currently doing. I'm doing that. I work. I have a full-time work.
Yeah.
I'm working financial aid, and that is, assisting with the NSFAS and everything. And that means I interact with students on a daily basis.
So you are literally working in an arena that fulfills your purpose.
I'm working in an arena that fulfills my purpose, and I always say to people, 7:30 up until to 3:30, I am committed to making sure that students are served in the FET, and from that time up until midnight, and I take a sleep, and in the night I'm working on Africa.
That's levels. Those are levels. But now what I want to ask you is, before we get to the serious talk, this is just going to be like 1 minute, 2 minute talk, and then we're going to talk about the serious problem.
Okay.
So you say that you're working, and you're working in an arena that fulfills your purpose. But let's talk about the 7:30 to 3:30. When will you be able to focus on Africa wholly, from 7:30 down to midnight, no matter what?
You see, I love that question. And the simplest way most people I associate myself with ask me is, dude, when are you resigning? Look, the disease is the system.
Yeah.
And for you to overcome the system, you must know the system. And I always say this. I am not rushing into being outside of the system before the people that I want to save from the system realize it. I have limited time within it.
Yeah.
Because I've been in there, I think now it's 5 years, almost. So I've got about 2 to 3 years to prepare myself and just get out of. But I want. The job I do helps me reach out to people on the level where they can understand.
Exactly.
Because there is, I have seen a lot of people resign and go into creating change, and they are so frustrated because when they speak to these people, they feel like they're hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Why? Because remember, there are two systems here. There is a system outside of the system, and there is a system that is inside the box.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to reach to the people in there, you must make sure that you know their language
and understand them.
You
need to understand them. I completely understand where you're coming from.
Definitely.
Because it's the fundamental principle within this problem that we have within Africa. Let's talk about that right now. Because racism, not even racism, classism, we don't understand each other. What is the solution?
Look, the solution is to be able to transform lives and transform minds.
Mindsets, cultivating those mindsets.
I always say there are 3 things that will drive change.
Yeah.
Now, whatsoever change is transformed by these 3 things. Number 1 is the mindset.
Yeah.
We cannot be driving change if our mindsets are not yet transformed.
Yeah.
An African child needs to know the values of Africa.
Yeah.
An African child needs to know the system and the evils of the system. An African child needs to know that there are distractions in this life. Racism, xenophobia, those are distractions from African development.
Straight up. I agree with you. This guy, I don't understand. Yeah. Why didn't we get him like 2 years ago? Like, I understand.
Why didn't I meet you 2 years ago?
Yeah. No, it's exactly.
I mean, so this is why now we young people, it starts with you and me.
Yeah.
Now, while I do a lot of leadership, my stream is personal leadership. I do not go into organization to provide them with leadership as a corporation.
Yeah.
I want to touch individuals in a group.
Yeah.
And my belief is simply this: if the humans' individual personal values are right, the community becomes right.
Exactly.
So it's all about starting with your friend, your next friend, the friend impacting the other, telling them that we are Africa. We are not South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia. We are Africa. And Africa has its own values that we stand for.
And we need to stand together as Africans because this is the wealthiest continent in the world and we're being taken advantage of.
Definitely.
We're being taken
all the
advantage
people that are coming against us are standing up together.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And the only way Africa is so much behind from the world is because Africans are divided.
Yeah.
I always say, should I say it? Yeah, let me say it.
Say it,
I always say, every African country, actually every African citizen is very xenophobic. It's just that some parts like South Africa and Nigeria are bold enough to express it.
Straight.
Boils down to indifference again.
If anybody needed to know what bars are,
yeah,
those were bars, and they were dropped. Yes, they were dropped.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's very true. That's very true. And why I believe that is because you know what? You go to Zambia and you say, I'm South African, I'm here to start a new life. People will look at you funny.
Yeah.
You
They'll
know?
judge you straight up.
We've been talking for about 35 minutes.
But before we wrap up, what are your last words to Africa before you become president of Zambia? This will be recorded in history.
Yeah.
What are your words?
Recorded in history.
Yeah.
Let me think about the 3 things I want to leave the listeners with. Number 1, if you're not addicted to success, you are definitely distracted from it. Number 2, the essence of life is to discover that one thing that you were born to die for, and then thrive to live for it. The third one is, the world solution we are looking for is not in politics, it's not in economics, it's not in any conflict of interest. Africa will go forward. Ackson Mwami is my name. The thinker, the author, and the speaker.
You are great. Black pumpkin, black meat. I think you're